Says the Mishnah. Karus HaMegillah. Both say back to a little bit of halacha. Karus HaMegillah ba'Adar Rishon. If they read the Megillah on Adar Rishon, the first Adar, Vinis Abra Hashana, then they decided to declare a leap year. So remember again, in this case over here, what ended up happening is comes the 14th of Adar, and we assume it's going to be just a regular Adar. And then what happens after, let's say, on the 20th of Adar? What does the Beis Din decide? Leap year. Leap year. So now we've got a problem because I celebrated Purim already, a week ago, and now you're telling me it's a leap year. So what do we do now? So the Gemara says, Korin Osa ba'Adar Sheni. You have to go ahead and read the Megillah again in the second Adar. Ein bein Adar Rishon Adar Sheni. There is no difference between the first Adar and the second Adar. Elo kriyas haMegillah u'matanos levyonim. Except Rabbi say that what? That the reading of the Megillah and matanos levyonim must be done when? In the second Adar. Says the No, you can absolutely make a leap year even in Adar itself. Again, not preferable by any stretch of the imagination, but Lemaisa, again, you can absolutely do it in Adar. I'm sorry? It's the last month that you could go ahead and make a leap. Correct. Because remember, the only month that you have the ability to make into a leap year is Adar itself. So the rest of the volume, Hala Inyan Seder Parashos Zev Zeshavin. Now also, what's interesting is the only thing the Mishnah discusses is Megillah or Megillah Matanos Levionim. But yet for Parashos, now also, what does it mean when it says Parashos? If you look at Rashi, Seder Parashos, Parsha Shkalim, Zachar, Para, and Chodesh. Also remember again, we have the supplemental, the additional 4 Parshios of Parsha Zachar. Or say Parsha Shkalim, Parsha Zachar, Parsha Spar, Parsha Sachodesh. It sounds like Zev V'Zeh Shavin. That's what? That Lemaisa, you could read those either in Adar Rishon or in Adar Sheni. So for example, in this case, where you're doing these things in Adar Rishon, and then what? And then you had a change in plans, you made a leap year. Let's say if you had already read the Dalet Parshios, then what? You would not have to read them again. So the Gemara says, Mani Mas Nisin. Whose opinion is reflected in our Mishnah? So the Gemara says, well, I'll tell you, Lo Tanakama, it's not the Tanakama, V'lo Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yossi, it's not Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yossi, V'lo Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. So both say, one thing I know for sure, which is, our Mishnah does not reflect any of these 3 opinions. What do these 3 opinions say? Disanya, because we learned. Karu es ha-Megillah ba'Adar Rishon, if they read the Megillah in the first Adar, V'nis Abra Hashana, then they decided to declare a leap year. Korin osa ba'Adar Sheni, you have to read it again in the second Adar. Why? Shekal mitzvos shenagos b'Sheni nogos b'Rishon, because all mitzvos that apply in the second Adar also apply in the first Adar. Chutz mi Mikra Megillah. With the exception of what? With the exception of Mikra Megillah, which only applies in the second Adar. So both say that is the opinion of the Tanakama. So Tanakama holds that Lamaisa, Adar Rishon and Adar Sheni are the same in every way except for Mikra Megillah. Okay. Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yossi says, Ein Korin Osa Ela ba'Adar Sheni. You can only read the Megillah in Adar Sheni. Shekol mitzvos shena goes b'Sheni, Noah goes b'Rishon. Because all of the mitzvos that apply in Sheni also apply in Rishon. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, Mishum Rabbi Yossi, Af Korin Osa ba'Adar Sheni. You even have to go ahead and read it in Adar Sheni. Why? Shekal mitzvos shena goes b'Sheni, Ein Noah goes b'Rishon. Because all of the mitzvos that apply in the second Adar do not go ahead and apply in the first Adar. V'shavin behesped ubetanis, shasur and bezeh ubezeh. I will say, interestingly enough, they all seem to agree that Lamaisa, both the 14th and 15th of Adar Rishon, as well as the 14th and 15th of Adar Sheni, you can't go ahead and deliver a eulogy or fast. So the Gemara begins by saying, Reb Shimon Gamliel, Hainu Tanakama. I will say, at first glance, Reb Shimon Gamliel and the Tanakama seem to be saying the same exact thing. Why? Because they both say that all of the mitzvos that apply in Adar Rishon, Adar Sheni, or anything that you've done in Adar Rishon must be repeated in Adar Sheni. To which the Gemara says, Papa Seder Parshos Igabenayu. Oh, here's the difference. We both had differences with Dalet Parshios. Tanakama Savar Lechatchila B'Sheni, because Tanakama holds that Lechatchila you should do the Dalet Parshios. That's the 4 supplemental readings in Adar Sheni. However, Ve'i Avud B'Rishon Avud. But if you went ahead and you read it in Adar Rishon, okay, it works. Barmi Mikra Megillah. The only exception is the reading of the Megillah. The Afagav the Kar B'Rishon Kar B'Sheni. Because again, I will say, according to the Tanakama, the only thing that must be repeated in Adar Sheni is what? Is Megillah. L'chatchila, the Dalet Parsha should also be read in Adar Sheni. But if you already read in Adar Rishon, you need not repeat. On the other hand, Rabbi Eliezer Yossi says, "Afilu mikra Megillah lechatchila berishon." So we'll say Rabbi Eliezer Yossi says that lamaisa you could even go ahead and read the Megillah in Adar Rishon. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel holds afilu seder parshios ikaru berishon karu b'sheni. So we'll say essentially what you have over here are three different shitos. On one hand, again, let's take the most extreme. The most extreme is Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yossi holds everything can be done in Adar Rishon. Everything can be done in Adar Rishon, even what? Even Mikra Megillah. That's on one hand. On the other hand, the other extreme you have Reb Shimon Gamliel, who says what? Who says, Lamaisa, everything must be done in Adar Sheni. Not only Megillah, but what? Even Dalet Parshios. And almost like the compromise sheet as a Tanakama. Tanakama holds everything Lechatchila should be done in Adar Sheni. Mikra Megillah must be done in Adar Sheni. But Dalet Parshios, if you did in Adar Rishon, but the Eved, you're Yotze. So the Gemara says money. So whose opinion does our Mishnah reflect? Tanakama, if it's the Tanakama, Kashya Matanos. Then I will say, interestingly enough, the Tanakama makes no reference to what? To Matanos Levyonim, which sounds like if you did Matanos Levyonim in the Adar Rishon, then what? Then it should work. But yet our Mishnah says that what? That Matanos Levyonim must be done in Adar Sheni. Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yossi, Kashin Mikra Megillah. If it's Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yossi, that can't be, because again, remember, Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yossi says you can even do Mikra Megillah Chatchil in Adar Rishon, and our Mishnah says it must be done in Adar Sheni. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, if it's Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, Kashya Seder Parshios. According to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, say you can read the Dalet Parshios in Adar Rishon, but yet from our Mishnah we could infer that Lamaisa you'd have to do it in Adar Sheni. So whose opinion does our Mishnah reflect? The Olam Tanakama. In reality, it's the Tanakama. Vitana. So also remember, the reason we had Tanakama's problem was why? Because Tanakama seemed to be saying that what? That Lemaisa, the only thing you had to do in Adar Sheni was what? Was Megillah, but that Matanos Levyonim could even be done when? Even Adar Rishon, which contradicts our Mishnah, because our Mishnah says Matanos Levyonim must be done in Adar Sheni. So which the Gemara says, Vitana, Mikra Megillah, V'hua din Matanos Levyonim, Deha Baha Talya. It goes back to yesterday's daf, to which the Gemara says, no, the Tanakama holds, when the Tanakama says that Megillah must be done in Adar Sheni, he also includes in that what? Matanos Levyonim. Why? Because Matanos Levyonim is connected to Megillah, as we saw yesterday. You can never have Megillah without Matanos Levyonim. Why? Mipnei she'enein shel tzadikin shel aniyim nisuos. But remember again, because whenever the poor hear the Megillah, they always expect Matanos Levyonim. Therefore, Matanos Levyonim is always joined with Mikra Megillah. So the Tanakama does not articulate it explicitly, but by definition, he means that when we say you have to read Megillah in Adar Sheni, that means Matanos Levyonim is also in Adar Sheni. Be by saying other possibilities. The Olam Shimon Gamliel. The other possibilities maybe our Mishnah reflects the view of Shimon Gamliel. And this is what the Mishnah means to say, or this is what the Mishnah means to say. There is no distinction between the 14th of Adar Rishon and the 14th of Adar Sheni. Elo mikra umatanos. Except for, again, the reading of the Megillah Matanos Levyonim that must be done at Adar Sheni. But the halachos for fasting as well as eulogies are the same, meaning you can't deliver either of them on Adar Rishon or Adar Sheni. V'ilu seder parshios lo mairi. And our Mishnah Bosai is not talking about what? Is not talking about the Dalet Parshios Bichlal. So therefore, again, Reb Shimon Gamliel's position does not pose any kind of issue, because Lamais, we're not talking about Dalet Parshios. Rab Avin, Rab Yochanan, Hilchasa, Rab Shimon Gamliel, Mishar Mishar Rabbi Yossi, and therefore Rabbi Yossi, this is Rab Avin to say in Rab Yochanan, the halacha follows Rab Shimon Gamliel Rabbi Yossi, who says what? Shekala mitzvah shenagos b'sheni, ein noagos b'rishon. So Rabbi Yossi, therefore our position, we pass like Rab Shimon Gamliel, who says that halacha l'maisa, all mitzvos must be done in Adar Sheni, both Mikra Megillah as well as Matanos Levyonim, including what? Including the reading of Dalet Parshas. So the Gemara says the following: 2, 4, 6 lines up from the bottom, middle of the line. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan, ushnehem mikra echad dershu. So we'll say, if you remember again, we had a 3-way machlokes yesterday about about what you do in a situation of Adar Aleph, Adar Beis. So remember again, we left off yesterday saying that the halacha follows Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Now remember, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel was of the opinion that Lemaisa, you have to go ahead, even if you read the Megillah in Adar Aleph, but then there was a leap year that was declared, you have to go ahead and read it again in Adar Beis. Not only that, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is of the opinion that would be true also with the Dalit Parshios, that if you had read the 4 supplemental readings in Adar Aleph, you'd have to read in Adar Beis again. So now the Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan Shnei Mikra Echad Dirshu. Both Rabbi Shimon Gamliel as well as Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yossi, both dash in the same pasuk. B'chol shana v'shana. The Megillah says that they went ahead and observed Purim b'chol shana u'shana, each and every year. Each and every year. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yossi, Savar, B'chol Shana Shana. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yossi says, what does it mean every single year? Makol Shana V'Shana, Adar HaSamach L'Shvat. Rabbi say, just like every single year, when do we celebrate Purim? We celebrate it in the Adar that is closest to Shvat. Afkan Adar HaSamach L'Shvat. So too over here, Rabbi say, when you have 2 Adars, which Adar do you celebrate Purim in? The Adar that is closest to Shvat, which is which Adar? Adar Aleph. Rabbi Shimon it was a 50-50. It was a 50-50. But Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, V'chal shana v'shana, what does it mean each and every year? Ma'chal shana v'shana adar hasamach l'nisan, afkan adar hasamach l'nisan. Just like each and every year we celebrate Purim in the adar that is closest to Nisan, so too in a situation of a leap year, we also do it in the adar closest to Nisan, which is which adar? Face. Good, excellent. So the Gemara says, Bishlam, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yossi, Mistaber Taima. So I understand Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yossi, who says that you should do everything in Adar Aleph. I understand that. Why? De'ein ma'avirin ala mitzvos. Because also we have a general concept that what? That we don't let mitzvah opportunities pass us by. Ein ma'avirin ala mitzvos. So I understand, therefore, again, Adar Aleph comes along, you don't want to let the opportunity pass you by. So El Reb Shimon Gamliel, my time. But why did Reb Shimon Gamliel tell you to push everything off to Adar Beis? Amar Rabbi Tavi, time to Reb Shimon Gamliel, mismach geula legeula adif. Because also Reb Shimon Gamliel's position is that it is good to literally juxtapose one geula to the other, meaning that the idea is you want to go ahead and always juxtapose Pesach to Purim, or I should say Purim to Pesach. Therefore, in order to do that, we have to observe Purim in the Adar Beis slot. So the Gemara goes weiter. Rabbi Elazar Omar, time of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel mehacham. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel learns how to shita from here. Dichse pasuk says, lekayim es igeres hapurim lekayim es igeres hapurim hazos hashenis, to go ahead and uphold this letter of Purim, the second one. So we'll say, interestingly enough, if you look at Rashi, he says Hashenis means B'chovdesh Hasheni. So Rabbi Shimon Gamliel understands that that's a reference. Again, that's obviously not Pshuto Shel Mikra. That's not really what the Megillah is talking about, but it's, so to speak, like a scriptural allusion in the Megillah to the fact that sometimes the Purim itself is observed in the Shenis in the second Adar. V'istrich l'michtav Hashenis, top of Zayin. V'istrich l'michtav b'chol shana. So we'll say, therefore, it turns out that, remember, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel's shita is that we read the Megillah in Adar Sheni. And now it turns out that Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is learning out his shita from 2 different sources. Number one, from the phrase, B'chol shana v'shana, just like in every year we celebrate again Purim in the month that is closest to Pesach, so too again over here in leap year we do the same. And limud number 2 is Hashenis. So now the Gemara is going to say, why do you need both? You have to learn it out from B'chol shana v'shana. Why? Di'imi b'chol shana u'shana. Meaning, because if it just said b'chol shana u'shana, hava amina ki kushyan, I would have raised the questions that we raised before, which was ein ma'avir nala mitzvos. Why would you delay it? Kamash malan hashenis. Therefore, the additional limud of hashenis bolsters our decision to go ahead and do it in Adar Beis. V'ashmo in hashenis, and if the pasuk would just say that we observe it in the second, have amina betchila berishon ubesheni, I would have thought that maybe that means what? That when it says b'sheni, yeah, it means you have to do it when? In the first and in the second, Kamash Malan b'chol shana v'shana. Therefore, the Megillah says the pasuk b'chol shana v'shana to teach me what? That lemaisa, again, just like in every year I read it once, so too even in a leap year I read it once as well. When is that once? Second Adar. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yossi, Hai Hashenis, my avidle. What does Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yossi do with that word shenis? So he needs it for a statement of Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda. The Amar Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda, Betchila kavuha b'Shushan. Well, this is very interesting because Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda says that the way Purim evolved as a Yom Tov is in the beginning it was established as a Yom Tov in Shushan, and then only Shenis, then only afterwards was it established as a Yom Tov everywhere else. Okay, quite amazing.